Hello, I'm Average Joe, welcome back to the world. Last time I was here, I said I wanted to build a burned down manor on top of this hill here. And in the last scene, I used my creative tools to rip away the top. Today, I'm gonna build the building, but first things first, reference. In my cursed fishing rod video, I made a reference to a game called Dredge. It's a cozy fishing game with lovely visuals, peaceful music, and eldritch abominations that try to kill you every night. Yeah. There's also some new DLC about, like an old oil rig waking something up, and it's got themes about how drilling for oil is bad for the environment, the hubris of man, like, it's really cool. Should do a Let's Play on it one of these days. Anyways, back on topic. In the base game, there's a collector dude who lives in this manor on a small island isolated from the rest of the Marrows. From what you can see of it, it's already pretty run down. There are holes in the roof and large masses of plants are growing on the side. Some interesting features are the balcony that extends from what I assume to be the second or third floor, and a circular tower coming off the side. I did a quick Google search about those towers, and apparently they're called turrets, and they're a common feature on Victorian-style houses. The building itself is asymmetrical, kind of in the shape of an L, and it seems to have visible brickwork, at least on the first floor. Now, this is kind of what I'm basing the ruins on, but the ruins aren't going to be a building, they're going to be the ruins of a building. So a couple things to note is that bricks don't really burn. So anything made with bricks should still be standing after a fire unless it was supported by something else. I don't know if the grout in the middle is flammable. I would assume it's not, but I'll look into that a little bit. Something I might also want to consider is where the fire started, how it spread, what was affected first and whatever. That way I can know how supported walls collapse and where debris should be, and if this was an unusual fire, where could I add details to show that? But I'm getting ahead of myself. I kind of need to figure out what the manor looked like before it burned down. So, wireframe, I guess. Alright, well, I'm willing to bet this kind of looks like a jumbled mess. So, let me explain really quick. I didn't do any of the actual work for the house. Like I said, just did a wireframe. And I did a really simple layout, didn't put too much thought into it. There were 3 rooms that were required to make it make sense. There needs to be a kitchen, which there is one here. There needs to be a library, which the top floor is. And there needs to be a bathroom, and there's 2 options for that. There is the shared bathroom here, even though there's really only one guest bedroom. And there is the master bath, which is right here. So this should help inform me of how everything will look once it's in ruins. We've got some stairs over here, and on the top floor, in the terrace, I've put this crying obsidian. Because, coincidentally, this terrace is almost exactly, like, centered on the button downstairs to start the game that the manor is meant to be representing. So, like, it's right here, and if we just go out and then go back up, it's almost exactly on it. And I do mean almost, because this is where it is centered down there. It's only a couple blocks off. It's really a coincidence. So there's just a few things left to figure out. The first one is to figure out where the fire starts. Now, there is one thing I've left out of this building, and that is the entrance to the basement, because the final product will not have one. However, the fire is technically... the entrance to the basement is where the fire started. So I'm thinking maybe a cellar entrance here, and then the fire just spread out from there, which would mean the what did I call these? The turret might be one of the first things to collapse. Or alternatively, maybe because of how it's structured, the fire just races up this like a chimney or something. I don't know. But part of my idea is that once the fire hits whatever this is meant to be, something bad happens. One of the other things I need to figure out is where is all the brick going to be? I know the bottom floor is probably going to be brick, and some of the walls down here are going to be. But I haven't decided how far up I want the brick to go. I also need to figure out... I need to replace a lot of this stone with grass and dirt. Because this is meant to be, like, the top. So there needs to be grass and a garden and details. And there needs to be a way to get up here. What I'm thinking, right, is that maybe we redirect these stairs and have it climb up the side here. And then there can be like a path to the door with like a little window and a patio or something. Because apparently Victorian houses tended to have patios. Which, alright, sure, fine, I can work with that. I just need to keep in mind that this is not the final product. This is just to help me figure out what the final product should look like. And by that I mean, the final product will not look like a house, it will look like the burned down remains of a house. And I'm having trouble keeping that in my head. Because now that I have this here, brain says build house. But I don't want to build house, I want to build a burned down house. It's all very silly. You know, after all of that work to put the wireframe together, I feel a little silly considering that basically only the bottom floor remains now. Nothing from the wireframe aside from maybe a couple walls. Actually, that needs to have a wall. Hang on a second. Yeah, so essentially nothing from any of the floor plan above the first floor is part of this ruin, except this. Because that is meant to be the roof of the turret, having collapsed in on everything. I think, realistically, it probably would have tumbled down this hill, but, oh well. So that made me feel kind of silly. Otherwise, this came out very well. I used some of the new pale moss to make it seem like some of the grass still hasn't grown back, or it's ashy on the sides. Originally, this entire thing was made out of deep slate tiles to make it look like black stained brick. But when I looked at brick buildings that had actually burned down, the brick itself didn't have any blackness to it, only sections where the fire was licking at the edges of a window or the door frame really came out to look black. I did do some black burning on the bottom floor here to kind of make it look like the wooden floor just burned, and yeah, kind of did. Also used the pale moss carpet to add some kind of ashy bits to the side here. And since this has been meant to be around for a long time, put some vines on the side, added some hanging pale moss for like ashy vines. And yeah, altogether I think this came out pretty well. I also used the path blocks for dead grass. Some of it's growing back, some of it has already grown back. But yeah, I think this came out as a pretty good little burned down brick house. I also ran a path from the bottom all the way back up to the top, and for the entrance to the actual board game, I've added some stalagmites and stalactites, and now it almost looks like there's teeth to this hole here, which I think is good. I think that's really good. One other concern I have is that people are going to come to this crossroads here and they're not going to realize which way they have to go, the stairs or the cave. I put a little lamp in here to kind of make it more obvious that you're supposed to be in here. And once you're in here, it's pretty obvious to tell where the start of the board game is. But there is a path up to the Manor ruins, so people can just walk up here and explore it a little bit. And if they do, they'll see this little thing in here. Right. So I'm taking the idea of the blue warped hyphae thing. And since the manor is supposed to kind of be the source of it a little bit, then it makes sense that there is a just large growth in there for that. And since cherry is supposed to be something that wards it all off, it stays contained in these ruins. But yeah, all in all, I think this came out very well. Right, let me see, what else? Oh, I did do some more work on the actual manor part. Hang on, let me get night vision set up. So I didn't do much to this yet. All I really did was actually sort out the ceiling. I still have yet to move these around or any of that stuff, but I put in dirt-colored eyes on one side of the ceiling where the furnace is, and on the other side I just did a checker pattern. I did have the idea of putting eyes into the decorations that would be coming off of it, but I'm just gonna stick with this. That does mean the only eyes on the frozen side of the building are going to be on the walls, but I think I can live with that. The only other idea I had would be to kind of make gray eyes sitting in the black and white checkerboard, and while I haven't tried that yet, I'm not 100% sure if that would actually look good. But yeah, as for the carrots and root vegetables that would be growing out of the dirt ceiling here, I specifically did a pattern where there would probably be enough room to paste those in. So once I have those designed, I can do that. You know, if there's one thing about these ruins that I'm actually a little disappointed in, is that they kind of don't stand out a lot. So like from all the way back here, right? They kind of blend in with the cherry and the dirt. The brick kind of So the brick kind of has a similar brownness to it that the dirt does, but it also has a redness to it that matches the cherry leaves. So if you were to stare just straight at it from here, it doesn't really stand out very well. And I mean, the scrap house does work blend a little bit, but I think it stands out a bit more because of the white. When you get closer to it, you can see it more, but you're probably going to notice the cave with the stalactites first. And I'm not sure if it's a good thing or not that the ruins don't really stand out too well. I'm not sure if I'd want them to. I mean, they are kind of the thing that hints as to what the manor is. And I just wrote a whole story about it, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Do not know. I think for now it'll be okay, you know? I mean, even if you don't see it right away, you can kind of get close up to it and explore it a little bit. And if you explore it enough, you find this, and if you've played through the tutorial or paid close enough attention to the chessboard, you can kind of get a hint as to what that is, and if you go and play that before or after it, you kind of get a clue as to what all's going on there, and yeah. Anyways, I think that'll be it for this episode. It doesn't feel like I really did a lot this episode. To be fair, I did a lot of work into looking into the building structure and all that, and having it just be a ruin was silly. That was just kind of silly of me. But yeah, I've been doing some other stuff, trying to live my life. This is essentially just a hobby, so there will be months where I just don't feel like working on it. And yeah, this was one of those months. I've got a new book I want to read, got a game that I want to play, that I did play. Actually, it was a very short game, but it's early access, so that happens. Also trying to set up a new Let's Play that will be put up in between my Minecraft episodes. I haven't started that yet, kind of wanna do that after I'm done recording this. But yeah, that's pretty much all from me. So yeah, I guess I will see you guys next time. Bye. On top of a hill, black and ashen, stands the burned remains of a house. Some of the ashen soot from the fire has been washed away by the years, but much of it still stains the bricks of the ruins. If you listen, those black-stained bricks will whisper the tale of what happened to any who are willing to listen. Years ago, there was a manor where the ruins would come to be. It cast long shadows on the world around it, and inside, seen through the windows, was a man. The man in the house was far from special. He was not tall, not short, he was not thin nor fat. He wore baggy, wrinkled clothes and loved eating cheap pasta. Some people claim he had vast fortunes of wealth at his disposal, while others claim he was a squatter, occupying a space that by no means belonged to him. Bricks do not know. They don't care. They will tell you that the man in the house spent his time at the windows, gazing out at the people below. He loved watching them, seeing what the passers-by would do down on the ground. His favorites were arguments, violent disagreements, shoving, shouting. He loved it. He would spend hours at a time observing the misery of others and cataloging it. His library, small as it may be, was stuffed to the brim with his favorite scenes. One shelf full of meticulously detailed accounts of arguments between couples, another packed with police arrests and mediation attempts. One particular shelf was dedicated to the comings and goings of the local farmer, Leaf. The man in the house had taken a particular interest in her. Some people think he was infatuated, wishing more than anything to wed her and bring her to his home. Others think she had slighted the man in the house, and he wished to find anything that he could use as revenge on the farmer. The Bricks do not know. They don't care. They will tell you that his interest eventually became a dangerous obsession. The man in the house needed to know everything about Leaf. He filled stacks upon stacks of notebooks with what she did, where she went, who she talked to. He quickly ran out of room in his library, filling halls, bedrooms, even the tub with notes on her. It wasn't enough. The man in the house only had a limited time to see what the farmer was doing. He neglected eating and sleeping. It wasn't enough. The windows in the house weren't wide enough to see everything she did, so he sat on the roof one day. It still wasn't enough. One day, he did not appear at the windows anymore. The lights in the house were dark, and only a soft glow would come from where the study was. People didn't see him in the windows. People never saw him on the roof. Some say he gave up, realizing that knowing everything about a person was an impossible task. They say he decided to move on to a new place. Other people say he went down to the farm and confronted Leaf with everything he had observed, and that Leaf, to defend herself, made the man in the house vanish. But the Bricks know better. They will tell you that the man, yearning for something only he could know, went mad. He went to the basement of the house and constructed a device to show him everything he could ever want to see. It was large, harsh in design and twisted in purpose, and operated in ways only the man in the basement knew. He would have what he wanted. He would see all that he needed. In his last moments, he turned the machine on, beaming as months of work creaked and groaned to life. Gears turned, wires sparked, and the machine began to move. A blood-red glow spilled from a glass bulb on the end of a spindly blue arm. It turned towards the man in the basement, bathing his face in the glow, and the man saw everything. And then he saw it burn. At this point, the Bricks will tell you nothing more. You could examine the ruins to try and find out more. You could study the burn marks and the rubble to try and figure out how the fire progressed. You could scour the ash and concrete for decades, but you would still be left with one question. What basement